Hello again, and welcome everybody to the next episode, or the latest episode, I should say, of Inside the Incubator. Today we're going to talk about assumptions, and I have sort of a strategic reason why we're talking about assumptions, and that is because NASET, with the generosity of the J.P. Morgan Chase Foundation, I know I'm going to, did I say that right, Annette? No. I always get it wrong.
The J.P. Morgan Chase part right, and that's all that really matters.
So we will get it right in all of our documentation, I promise, but you guys, I know you know who I'm talking about. They are helping us to create a product called Reality Check Your Startup. So I want you guys to stay tuned for more information about that. It's going to be coming out soon. And that is why we're talking about assumption, because that is probably at least the first key thing we tackle in this program, and assumptions are such a big part of an entrepreneur's life. So we're going to be talking about that. But before we get started, I'm going to have everyone introduce themselves, and we're going to start off with the newest member to our team, Grant Adams. Wave, Grant, and then I'm going to have you say hi in a second. He is the new marketing director down at Maricopa Center for Entrepreneurship, and we are excited to have him on board. So Dan, he works with Dan. Grant, welcome to the team. Why don't you give us a little brief history about you and how you came to Maricopa?
All right, so thank you. I come from Gilbert, Arizona, but go to school down in Tucson at U of A, hence the logo here. But yeah, so I'm going into my senior year at U of A, and had actually just got in contact with Dan about working for a nonprofit, and decided that that was something I did in my class, in one of my classes. So thought I'd give it a shot, and it's looking pretty bright so far. So a little background, I guess you could say, is I come from multiple areas around Arizona, so I'm happy to be here.
Well, we're glad to welcome you on board. I've had the pleasure of working with him for a few weeks now, and he's such a welcome addition to the team. And now we haven't really taken time to introduce ourselves in a while, so I think we'll go through quickly. Wei, why don't you start us off?
Hello, my name is Wei. I'm the business consultant for the Small Business Development Center, which is hosted by NASET.
Awesome. Trish?
Hi, I'm Trish, and I am in Flagstaff, and I'm the Chief Interpreter of Chaos and Fighter of Absurdities.
Nice.
Love
Perfect.
that. Oh, can we get
Perfect.
that business card, please?
Yeah.
Christine.
Hi, I'm Christine. I'm with the Chandler Incubator, and I don't have a clever title, so.
You're an author. We could say that.
Yeah. Yes.
A published author with 100 Things to Do in Phoenix Before You Die.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes. Yes.
Brett.
Hi, I'm Brett Carpenter. I'm the director of the Small Business Development Center here at NASET, and I am the herder of cats.
That's great.
Oh, that's great. Annette?
I'm Annette Zinke, and I'm the queen of the workaround.
And an instigator, I might add.
Right.
She likes to be known as the instigator. I think that's a good thing. Okay, so as I mentioned,
Dan.
hi Dan.
Oh,
Dan, hi. Okay, Dan, we just went through introductions. Why don't you take a second and introduce yourself? Come up with a clever title if you can.
Bob. I'm Dan Beach. I'm the executive director for the Entrepreneur Center in Maricopa, MCE. And I don't have a clever title.
You missed some good ones, I think. Okay, so as I mentioned, we're going to talk about assumptions. So first of all, I would like to pose to the team, what do you think the biggest mistake entrepreneurs make when they come to you with assumptions about either the business they're forming, going to form, or formed?
I think Brett would agree with me that what we see a lot of is people assuming that they're going to get some outrageous market share when they
yes.
go. We'll get if we just get 10% of the market. I'm sorry, you're not going to get anywhere close to 10% of the market. But in one way, it's it's a little disheartening, and they're going to be very disappointed. But in another way, it's fantastic that they have this really fabulous assumption of success, and really, it's that mindset that brings things forward. So I'm delighted to hear that often.
What are some other assumption-oriented mistakes?
They assume everybody's going to want what they have, or anybody's going to want what they have.
No, it's always everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody wants it.
Everybody.
Let's see.
Or they assume that their parents are representative of buyers.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. They assume that it's not necessary to do any type of market research, and that asking their friends and family is enough of an indicator of a market need.
That's a good one.
I want to talk about our assumption too, because I think we also assume that these things should be obvious, since we've worked with dozens, hundreds, sometimes of businesses, and all of you have owned businesses.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Think back to when you started. Did you have any clue
Of course
who
not.
you to talk to, or how to go about that, or
Of course not.
you might be making assumptions that you weren't even aware of? I wasn't aware of. I'm still not aware of all of my assumptions. So I mean, it's a really hard thing, and it's why you work with somebody who can point out your assumptions to you. And then there's all that, whether or not you listen, that's a whole different thing. But we don't even know what our assumptions are, and you have to find somebody else who can go, hey, maybe we should ask why you think that.
No,
Well,
and that's a.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, that's a really good point. In fact, I tell I actually have a coach, because I know that I'm not seeing things as clearly as I would like to see them, and that you need someone who's going to be a mirror, who will also be a sounding board, and who will, in a really nurturing and supportive way, tell you you're missing something here, or you're not seeing that your value is really over here. So I agree. I think, and that's why we play the role that we play, because you don't know what you don't know, and you need someone you can trust and respect to help point out what you might be missing.
So an entrepreneur will make assumptions as they go through developing their business. I mean, they get an idea. They have to start making some assumptions to even determine whether they go forward, right?
Sure.
Is there a point of time that those assumptions are helpful, and is there a point of time where those assumptions will hinder them?
Well, we teach the business canvas, and in reality, the business canvas is all about assumptions. I mean, you create the entire business canvas based on what you believe are the correct assumptions at that given moment, and then you immediately start working at, deciding whether those are true assumptions. The assumptions are hypotheses, and you go test them, and you re-evaluate every assumption until the market tells you what the correct assumptions are.
You challenge everyone, you work through it, as Dan said, you test it. And but without assumptions, you don't get anywhere. You at least have to have a starting point. You have to have a baseline that at least gives you, you're at the starting line, and you can now, shoot the gun off and at least start going somewhere.
So this is as close to the scientific method as you can really get with business, and that's you start out with a working theory, a plausible explanation, or a plausible course of action, and then you decide what things can happen to make me either know that this is true and I'm on the right path, or false and I'm on the wrong path, and then design experiments to see if you can make either true or false happen. It's super abstract, so for every business you have to come up with some set of things that helps you make those determinations. An easier way maybe to talk about assumptions, or at least a more common set of assumptions that every kind of business needs, is financial assumptions, like the assumptions that go into your financial projections. How many customers? How much are they paying? How often do they come back? What's the value, over a year, or a week, a day of each interaction? How much does it cost you to get those customers? Those are less abstract assumptions that are completely necessary and also provable either as true or false once you get into business.
I think that's one of the things that's missing most with the clients I work with that don't go through market validation. So they make these assumptions or these hypotheses, and then they want to jump right into doing business. When really they can just step back and test the hypothesis through market validation, and that is always like an epiphany to them that that can be done. Where I think as business people, we assume that that is just part of the process.
So that's a good word way. Thinking about the process, what processes do we use? Kim, I'm just going to start asking questions. What processes do we use to help people challenge their assumptions?
Like Dan said, we use a business model canvas. That's one of the tools, the value proposition canvas. It's an opportunity to lay everything out and talk through it, and that's one of the most important parts too. Is to talk through it, and there is a process to it. So.
And the business model canvas gives you sort of a roadmap to analyzing all of your assumptions. I mean, it talks about the channels that you're going to use. It talks about the relationship you're going to develop with the customer segments, and you make assumptions about all those things, and then that's the basis for testing them. So I'm very much into using the business model canvas.
So I have a question. How does someone know it's an assumption? Because you guys mentioned the fact that you become aware of your assumptions because other people point them out, right? But sometimes I think people come, or entrepreneurs come with a set of assumptions which they actually think are more than assumptions. They think it's fact, right? So how does an entrepreneur that doesn't have a coach, now we all know they should have some sort of process, okay, so we know that, but let's face it, a lot of them don't. How do they know what's an assumption? How can they test themselves?
I think that's one of the great hindrances of business. People don't know what they're assuming. They think that what the track they're on is correct, and they don't take time to test it.
So how would they go about testing it? I mean, some of that it's a little bit too abstract for me to come up with a way kind of assumption, like $1 million of revenue this year. So why do I think that? Well, I think that I can generate, $80,000 in a single month, and that means I've got 1,200 customers who pay X. Then you're breaking it down, and you can see if that number is realistic for you. But I only know how to do that numerically. Other assumptions, what kinds of other assumptions could we be talking about? Do you guys have examples of other assumptions that we could, as an exercise, try to break down?
I think there's a lot of assumptions about the people that are going to buy their product, right? I mean, we said that that's one that they often come in, that everybody wants to buy their product. I mean, look at it. Everybody needs this. Well, sure, maybe everybody might benefit from it, but the bottom line is we know that everybody is not a target market, right? So, but entrepreneurs really believe that. They really believe that their target market is everyone. So we can say, blanket line, if your target market is everyone, that's an assumption that you need to test and narrow down. But how do they know that their target market, even if it is more narrow, is not just an assumption, but actually their target market?
It comes through the market validation, or if they can't do that, or if they don't do that, then it comes to the cold reality when they can't make a sale.
Wait, can you talk a little bit more about what you mean, or how somebody might go about validating? What kinds of questions would you ask? Are you talking about a survey? What are you talking about?
Well, it can be a survey, sure, but probably better is making a prototype and seeing who's using it and what features they want on it or want changed, or just doing a short test run and seeing if anyone uses the service. Or again, it's just a test run essentially of the product or service before you roll it out. Full, you roll it out as a full business.
I had someone who was building a web application for something and kept asking him who his target market was, had he done any market validation. He was trying to think of all of these elaborate ways to get market validation. When I finally narrowed it down that he was looking for, basically athletes, elite athletes, weekend warriors, those types of things. It was like I sent him down to the local coffee shop on a Saturday morning where the bicyclists start out. All the crazy bicyclists start out on Saturday morning to go for their 100-mile ride, and said, go down and ask them some questions, and worked through those questions. And, would you use something like this? How do you currently do this? And would you pay for it? How much would you pay for it? And it cost him nothing.
That is a great idea.
Yeah.
I love that, but first I'd like to apologize for all those long-distance cyclists out there. We really don't think you're crazy.
Crazy in a good way. I mean, everybody here is crazy, which is part of the appeal.
Absolutely. But that's a really great way, is to find out where those people are hanging out and just go spend the morning.
Christine, will you talk about what the cult is? Because I think is important.
So it's and actually Trish brought up a really good point. The cult. So it's customer user lead tester, and these are folks that are devoted. So the bicyclists who are getting ready to go on their 100-mile bike ride are devoted to their craft. They want the best. They look for the best. They eschew mediocrity, and they're really looking for what is the next best thing that's going to help me accomplish what I'm after. So for them, it might be faster on their bikes. It might be more comfortable on their bikes. And so it's about asking questions in a way that reveals what are their pains, what are their problems, what are they trying to solve. And that's an important thing too, that when you go in to start to ask questions of this particular group, not to go in with preconceived notions. Sometimes we'll go in as entrepreneurs looking for the answer that validates our assumption. And so we go in saying, would you use X, Y, Z? Would you pay for that? Rather than going in even asking them, what is the biggest problem you face as a bicyclist? What problems are you trying to solve? And then really asking them what they think and what they need, and then developing a solution that solves that problem for them. So this particular group is essential to building out your prototype, because they're actually going to help pull the product out of you, and because they're going to help you develop something that's going to meet their needs. And if you can meet the needs of the tip of the spear, then you're creating something very valuable for a larger market as well. Does that help, Annette?
Thanks. I just thought it was really useful, because Trish pointed a client straight at the cult, right? The group of people who would be most emphatic, the mavens around a particular client. And sometimes I think clients have a really hard time finding that, and that's why they don't know how to test their assumptions, and they don't even know where to start. And I was the same when I started my business. I didn't know who to talk to because everybody who existed in this industry was not my customer. It was a whole subset, a very specific group of people that I didn't even know how to find. I didn't know where they congregated. I didn't know how to access them. So, I mean, sometimes maybe you do need, not that this is an entire pitch for an advisor, but maybe you need somebody to help you step out of being this close to what you're trying to do and figure out, okay, well, where do I find groups of people like this? If you're making a new food product, it's not everybody who eats who's your customer. Mm-hmm. Where do you find the people who are obsessed with the thing that you're doing?
Right. Isn't that the danger of assumptions, is that you're so close to everything that you're crafting this idea from scratch, and so of course you're going to make assumptions, but then it's almost like you're telling your story so often that it becomes your truth, not necessarily just an assumption any longer, right? And so, is this at what point, I guess my question is there's a point when you are working on assumptions, and that's obviously necessary to get going. At what point do you realize, okay, now it's time to either A, get help, figure out how to test, bring on a partner, whatever that next step is, so that you can take a step back from the story and start to then determine what's an assumption and find the truth behind that assumption. When does that happen, or does it?
Well, Kim, that's a really good point, because it's also about, we caution clients, and we have to remember ourselves as entrepreneurs that we can't be surrounding ourselves with yes men or yes women. We need to be connecting with people who are going to challenge our worldview and challenge our assumptions and help us continually reassess where we are, how we got there, and where we need to go next. And part of it, I think, is thinking about our thinking. Why am I thinking this way? Why am I looking at it this way? And really stepping back from yourself and considering that, and others can help you do that. That's where they become very valuable.
So, we know we need assumptions. We know we can't rely on them forever. We know we need to test our assumptions to find the truth behind them. We know it's hard to do that on our own. Oh, look! Brett!
Together.
I was wondering what was happening. It looks like it's just going
on. Sorry. Besides coming in and talking to a professional, how does an entrepreneur make the switch from assuming to validating?
You're underplaying the coming in and seeing a professional.
Well, I think it's really hard to do without somebody on the outside. I'm aware of it. You're looking for ways to do it, and the easiest way to do it is to have somebody outside of your business ask you questions. I think it's really hard to do from inside and this close to it. It's just it's like proofreading your own work. It really is. And how many people have looked at the same mistake that they made themselves over and over and over in proofreading without even realizing it was there because you've seen it so many times.
Right. So I guess my hesitancy in just saying go get help is that I think there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there that just won't seek help, right? Mm-hmm. And is that a big red flag for failure?
No.
Well, we can
step away and see the forest for the trees.
Right.
Wait, I missed the first part of that way.
Oh, I was just saying you need to be able to, in some way, step away, and since that's very impossible or very difficult to do, you need to have a consultant or someone else to look at your business from afar. Otherwise, you're going to run into problems that you could easily avoid.
It's kind of like going to the gym, right? You can go to the gym and you can work out and you can do, cardio or lift the weights, but it's not the same as hiring a coach, as being held accountable, as having someone say, that's great that you're doing that, but now I think it's after 3 weeks it's time to move on to the 15-pound weights. And so it's just good to have someone. But I think you bring up a good point. There are a lot of folks that we don't even think about asking for help in any part of our lives, let alone in the business part of our lives. And so it's that whole idea that we need our friends, we need our family, we need people to help us look at how we're thinking about things in every other area. And that's the same case too for our businesses as well. I don't know that it can't be done in a vacuum. At least not.
So I get your point, Kim, that we want to have something useful to offer people that don't want to come in and talk to a human about it.
Right.
You can find like checklists, and you can find a mechanism. You can create a system for checking yourself. Did you mean to make this a plug for Reality Check Your Startup? Because that would be a really good opportunity. End of June in Chandler, in August in Flagstaff. Because
No
the
plugs here.
course is that you'll have.
I had full disclosure at the top of the half hour that
there was a reason. So you didn't tell me that was the reason, so I was just going to work that in there. So, but the idea is, I mean, there's still some seeking help. Like for the course, you learn over a couple of days how to do these things, how to test your assumptions, how to identify your assumptions, and how to question yourself. And you get tools that help you do that routinely when the assumptions come up again, because it's always a different set of assumptions. But I don't know how to do it without some kind of interaction with other people. I don't know how to do it without getting a tool from somebody or going to learn this process, like at Reality Check Your Startup, or going right, exactly, or going to a coach or an advisor, like all of these wonderful people you see here.
Well, there is a way. I contend that there is a way, but it's a very painful way. As you just go out and do the business, and your customers and your lack of success may tell you,
right, except that
with reality.
Yeah.
Education is expensive no matter how you get it. And if you launch into business without testing your assumptions, you have to find a way to minimize the damage that can cause. Not that you shouldn't try to do it, because nothing will teach you like falling down and skinning your knee, right? Oh, okay.
And that's what, you're serial entrepreneurs. I mean, we have a client that within a very short period of time was able to build a company very quickly. It's his third or fourth venture. So even still, there's a recognition that there are things I still don't know after doing this for 4 times. So it just kind of fast tracks it. Yes, we can learn by experience. It's one of the best ways to learn. It's the lessons that'll stick with us. But you can also kind of fast track that by asking for help.
So I have one entrepreneur.
Well, Christina,
go ahead.
Go ahead. Is it my turn?
Yes.
So, no, I just wanted Christine to say a little bit more about that same client, because this one, everybody, all for the world, like he's got it together. He's had several ventures. He's got at least a 50% success rate for starts and, exits, which is huge, by the way. Most successful entrepreneurs have 10% success rate at most. I mean, they start a lot of things, they kill the ones that don't work, and they keep going on the ones that do. This particular client was super knowledgeable and went into this business thinking he knew how to do it, and found out when he was almost out of money that he had to learn new stuff.
Yep. Yeah. No. So yes, we're always learning. It never ends.
So I have one entrepreneurial scenario that I think of often, is the person that's afraid to validate their idea because they don't want someone to steal it. They don't want to talk about it because they don't want to, because it's the next best thing and someone's going to steal it, right? So what do you say to that person who's afraid to talk about their business because they don't want to give away their idea before it's fully formed? What do you say to them?
Sign a non-disclosure agreement. And then get a business consultant.
You know what I'm talking about, right? I mean, it's not. I have conversations with people like that. I'm in several groups where people are afraid to talk outside of that group because someone's going to steal their idea.
So I have a rant about this, but I really wanted to give anybody else a chance to say something, because as soon as I start, I think I won't be able to stop.
Go for it, Annette.
All right. If you can, in any context other than a professional conference full of people who are more experts or thing than you are, seriously, if you can tell any other human being enough about your business that they can steal your idea, they were either farther along that road than you were, or you deserve to lose. It's not a opinion. It's not, it's super controversial. It's not kind to say, but if you are so worried about somebody stealing your idea that you won't talk to people, nothing magical is ever going to happen. And if you can tell somebody enough about your business, it was either obvious and going to happen anyway, or you didn't get on it fast enough. Stop hiding your ideas and go out and make it go.
So that's what I say. That's what I've been saying. Then it's not unique enough, and go find a different idea. That's what I say.
Yeah, if it's that easy to steal, then you don't have much.
Venture capitalist, your idea is worthless.
Right. Yeah. And it is. I mean, ideas aren't worth anything. Only businesses are worth something. You can have $1 million idea. If you can get somebody to pay you $1 million for an idea, good, brilliant. I've never heard of that.
No, and I know that.
If you pay you $1 million for your idea, it's probably worth $1 billion.
Right. Good point.
You were going to say something, Chrissy?
Yeah. I know that sometimes clients will come to us and say that so and so was funded for an idea. Usually the case is that they're already a successful entrepreneur that has built several very successful businesses with with good exits, and so that's where that's coming from. I know a lot of times we see what's going on in Silicon Valley and want to translate that to Arizona, and that it's not a one-to-one. That's not necessarily how it works.
There's a whole lot of magic going on there.
So I'm going to wrap up now because we are out of time, and I'm going to say the key takeaway today is get someone to shine the light on your assumptions because you can't do it yourself. Would you say that's fair?
Yes.
Yes.
Pretty darn hard.
So
we will help you.
Yeah.
Gently. We'll be gentle.
Yeah, we're kind. We're fun. We laugh.
Most of us.
Well, I want to say thank you to everyone. Annette, where are you today? Are you in Phoenix?
Yes.
Okay. So Annette's in Phoenix. Brett and Way are across the hall from me up in Flagstaff. Christine's in Chandler. Dan's in Maricopa. Grant's...
Maricopa.
Well, I know he works in Maricopa, but I'm not sure where he's living. Are you living in Gilbert now?
Yeah.
Quentin, where are you? Are you in Chandler? He's muted.
He is in Scottsdale, I believe.
Scottsdale. Trish is up in Flagstaff across the parking lot from us. And with that, we're going to say goodbye. We will be back next week with another episode. And thank you again for joining us. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
All right. I like our